Hi, I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and today I'm here to ask the question, is the Magic the Gathering Arena economy complete and utter garbage? It is, yeah. I should probably have shaved and I probably should have sorted my hair out, but I need a haircut and we're in lockdown, so fuck it. I've been wanting to do a video about my problems with MTG Arena and specifically the economy for a while, and I even reached out to other prominent creators that use Arena far more than I do to ask things they want to see in future and ways they'd improve the client. But I've shelved it for a multitude of reasons in the past. We dunk on it in dice removal quite enough, and I get more enthused with other videos, whether they be gameplay or looking at other far more interesting and less depressing aspects of the game and the hobby than the MTG Arena economy. But if 2020 has taught me anything, is that it's a horrid, bleak year full of despair and dread. So let's talk about the MTG Arena economy, shall we? Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, has recently opened up the discourse to talk about the issues he and many people have with the MTG Arena economy. The article is great, the accompanying video is great, and I will link to those in the description and the cards of this video. I don't want to labour his points too much or take away from his actual content. I think you should go and, watch it and read it and so on. But I want to summarise one or two of his points to lead into my ramble about the MTG Arena economy. He talks about how, anecdotally, he spent around $150 on Predatory Remastered and managed to open 37.5% of the mythics in that set, and then he goes on to estimate around $400 for getting the whole set, but later on when doing the rest of the math in the article, he's a bit conservative and says perhaps every supplemental set will take about $300 to complete. $400 to complete a set of Magic the Gathering cards? Okay, some of you are probably thinking you have some questions about this line of conversation, like, why do you need to complete a set? It would probably cost you that much in paper, right? Just don't spend the money, you fucking idiot. While some of those comments are fair, let's address some of them preemptively. I'm sort of preempting some of the criticism or comments in the comment section. Both Seth and I are content creators and we look to make videos primarily about gameplay, although I've moved away from that as Magic's gameplay has been more and more plagued by horrors. But we both like to play a variety of decks, and for that reason we both use rental services on MTGO to get access to all of the cards, to play a variety of decks in Modern, Legacy and so on. There is no way to have a rental service on MTG Arena because there is no secondary market, there is no outside third-party influence at all. For that reason, people like myself and Seth will spend quite a bit of money on Arena to be able to play the decks that we like or want to play or that you guys want to see in videos. So from that perspective, it's expensive and, we care about that cost. But I also do agree with Seth's point that the way that supplemental sets and things like Predatory Remastered are implemented into Arena and introduced into the client are detrimental or problematic for your average free-to-play player and your average non-whale player too. In short, free-to-play players are also fucked. Predatory Remastered is not rewarded as part of the rewards for quests, so gold accrued from grinding as well as wildcards are sunk into building the historic decks you want to play if you want to play historic, and if you're building just one particular deck, then perhaps that works out okay for you, but if you are looking to build more than one of your average historic decks, then you're going to have a hard time accruing the resources needed to build even two of these historic decks. And this is a problem that we're seeing with all supplemental sets, from Amonkhet to Kaladesh, Jumpstart and so on. These packs aren't given as rewards, and you can't get the cards in any way via dusting, direct purchase. Well, historic anthologies a little bit, you can, there have been sets where you buy the cards directly, but you can't dust for them, you can't trade in old cards for them. The only way to get them is to crack packs. Add to this the fact that these supplemental sets tend to be a little larger than normal sets, and it's not an easy time for people trying to collect these sets to get a robust collection or the stuff needed to play multiple decks. It's quite literally harmful to the free-to-play model and those who are still locked into this uphill battle of staying relevant whilst playing in this way. So what about the idea that this would cost just as much to open in paper? Well, it would if you were just cracking packs, as that's the most expensive way to procure the resources that you need to play certain decks. But in the real world, we have the secondary market, we have trading in, we have rentals, borrowing, buying, all that jazz. So actually no, it'd be a lot cheaper just to buy the singles you need. I guess the additional message of this video is buy singles, kids. Don't crack packs unless you just enjoy the actual feeling of cracking packs. Also, Seth in the article does go into detail about how it'd be cheaper to buy all of the mythics in Amonkhet in Kaladesh Remastered in paper or online than it would be to just do the exercise that he's doing of cracking packs. And then when the article dropped, I saw this tweet from Cube8Paul, which really made me stop and think. Part of the reason why I made this video. She said that Historic is the first Magic format that I've ever been priced out of aside from Vintage. It's incredible how much it costs to play with no relief in sight. I truly hope they fix it because I can't imagine people spending many thousands to play Pioneer. Two things to unpack there. One is the Vintage thing. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But the whole Pioneer thing, what she is meaning there is that Pioneer is supposedly on its way to Arena, and the only way it's going to get there is through the release of supplemental set after supplemental set, meaning that if you are looking to have a comprehensive Pioneer collection, it's going to cost you an absolute fucking fortune. Hell, just building a specific deck because you can't buy the cards individually or wild cards individually could be very fucking expensive too. And as for Vintage, whilst the comparison's a little bit out of whack because the cost of buying maybe 50 packs then using whatever wild cards you got to build the historic deck you want to play is going to be considerably cheaper than picking up, I don't know, Power 9 cards or workshops that you might need for Vintage, there is a strict difference. One of these things is a sunk, unrecoverable cost, whilst the other is, by virtue of the real-world secondary market, a fucking investment. To explain the sunk cost, for those of you not too familiar with the concept, I'm not using it in its exact correct usage here, but more of the popular vernacular. A sunk cost is a cost that already has been incurred, cannot be recovered, and thusly, in economic theory, risk assessment and planning shouldn't be taken into account for future decisions. But I guess actually, and I've written this in my script, actually, maybe it does fit. Maybe it does fit. There is this idea that once you've spent $500 on Arena, or any game for that matter, you're kind of priced into paying another 100 or 200 or whatever in future supplemental sets or expansions to, you know, still have access to the thing you bought originally. We all know that with Magic and any tabletop game or video game for that matter, if you fall out of the loop, you can be so out of the loop that it's hard to get back in. This is called the sunk cost fallacy, the idea that your previous unrecoverable costs factor into whether or not you continue with a pursuit. Even if you continue that pursuit is not the best thing to do ongoing. But this is a big part of the psychology of marketing and keeping players invested. If you've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours and dollars on a game, whether that be Magic the Gathering, League of Legends, Warhammer or World of Warcraft or whatever, you want to keep access to the resources you've already accrued, the accounts that you've already leveled up, the skills and knowledge you've developed, personally, and so you're boxed into this idea of keeping up with an ongoing metagame shift, new expansion releases, rotations, new books, new cards. And this applies to not only the idea of trying to stay relevant in Historic or Legacy or whatever, but also, and more so perhaps, in Standard and Magic. It is arguably, I say arguably, it's almost certainly bigger there due to the need to keep up with rotation. And whilst this is obviously a thing that allows companies to push you to buy more product and buy the newest releases and so on, there is an argument that it's just a byproduct of releasing new content and releasing new product. So it's not completely fair to say that this is a nefarious marketing tactic per se. But with that said, there are some other issues with the MTG economy that are more glaring and only serve to exaggerate these issues. Some of these things might be purposeful, harmful to the player, or even predatory, whilst others again might be a byproduct of the very nature of Magic the Gathering as a fast moving product cycle. Firstly, what I call Magic the obfuscationing. That word's hard, I don't know why I'm using it. Obfuscation is the action of making something obscure, unclear, or unintelligible. Online economies thrive when the people looking to take part in them have no fucking idea what is going on. Gems and coins are two varied and abstract currencies. Packs don't cost you money per se, they cost you gems. You buy your gems with real world money, which then makes the idea of spending them on shit like virtual card packs abstract. It makes it easier. They then sit in your account, you pick up packs next set release, you're left over with some currency due to the very specific chosen pricing points that are picked purposefully to do that, to encourage you to top up your account again so you don't waste that spare leftover gems. The amount you are spending isn't 100% clear unless you take a moment to sit back and really work through it, so it's more about impulse spending and the abstraction of spending away from money. Limited time offers also encourage purchases too, buy this thing before it's gone on a certain date and all that sort of shit. Some of this stuff is your typical sales tactics that we're all kind of used to in the modern day, especially with like mobile games and gacha games and all these games filled with fucking loot boxes in the AAA games industry and stuff like that. But a lot of this stuff wasn't that present with physical Magic, but it's much more present in digital arena Magic. But arguably it's the typical shit that encourages habitual spending found in other AAA video games and mobile games, so why am I moaning about it here? Honestly, it's frustrating to see a game like Magic the Gathering that already has randomized loot packs like boosters in the physical medium adopt nonsense bullshit microtransaction strategies in its digital client too. But these things become even worse when you consider that you are buying randomized packs as the only way of opening these cards. So there's a chance you just don't get what you want. Randomized gambling-esque mechanics can also prey upon people with poor impulse control or other issues like, I don't know, addictions. But if we're honest about it, as far as like microtransaction strategy goes, I guess the Arena client isn't that bad compared to your shit where you see parents getting $3,000 or £3,000 bills where their kids have spent money on FIFA or the Clash of Clans, Raid Shadow Legends kind of fucking nonsense. Yeah, I'm probably never going to get sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends if I criticise their shitty game too much, right? But even if it's not that bad, there are still many questionable like elements of the economy that are purposefully there. They are design choices implemented for a purpose. And that purpose is probably peak profitability with no regard for the end user and the longevity of the game which is associated with that. Wizard made the explicit choice to not allow us to dust, trade in, refund, or otherwise change rares that we don't want into rares that we do. This was a design choice from beta onwards, a completely conscious choice. The wildcard mechanic is meant to reward us for cracking packs and protect us against duplicate magic cards now, but it doesn't if a rare like Sorcerer's Spyglass shows up in a later set. That'll just give us another copy of the fucking card, which means that a pack where we open a rare we already owned, like Sorcerer's Spyglass, is basically a rare that is now bound to our account that we can't trade in, we can't sell, and we could do in paper MTGO. It's basically a pack with no rare in it at that point. However, I guess with the Sorcerer's Spyglass, at least there's some different art though. Opening multiple Rishkar across Jumpstart and then into Kaladesh Remastered pack openings feels particularly brutal, considering it's the same bloody art. Every time you crack a Kaladesh Remastered pack and open a Rishkar, if you've completed and maxed out your set of 4 from Jumpstart, Wizards of the Coast are literally giving you a booster with no rare in it. Imagine for a moment you opened a physical booster pack of Magic cards with no rare in it. If you did it in your local game store, they might take pity and replace it. If you did that with any other product, any other faulty product, Wizards of the Coast have been very good in the past and publicly on social media of replacing people's damaged, miscut, already opened, faulty product. But they're not doing that for Arena. Why? On Arena, it's basically, nah mate, get fucked scrub. Now, they have worked in the past to remove the feel bads of duplicates. They added a duplicate protection so you can open a 5th copy of a rare you've already opened 4 copies for, because literally having a 5th copy in Arena is literally pointless. It doesn't do anything. You can't sell them like you can in real life. You can't line your walls of your office with them. You can't wipe your ass with them. They're just useless. However, here we are, still being able to do it across multiple sets, even with the same fucking art. And funny thing is, it's such an easy fix. You can either have your supplemental set copies have the same symbol as the original or future sets, like with Baneslayer Angel and Jumpstart, for example, being an M21 card, or just ensure that the game is coded to not allow you to open a 5th copy of a card that is already in your collection, regardless of expansion symbol. And I'm sure there's going to be people in the comment section telling me how I don't know the first thing about coding and this sort of thing can't happen overnight, as if I'm suggesting that. It can't be that hard to implement at some point in the past 6 months. The other issue with the current style of duplication protection implementation, that's a term that I don't want to have to say too often, is what it does to future sets and reprints in terms of desirability. We will have a world where in paper games we want as many rare land cycles like shocks and fetch lands to get regular reprints to make older formats accessible. But in the digital releases we don't want to be calling for this, as it will make the value of our openings and progress worse, because we want to open as many fetch lands as we can in paper, but we only want our 4 online if they ever got onto the client. And this is just fucking stupid. And if this is not fixed, it could bleed over and influence the composition and design of future sets to minimise duplicate rare reprints, which means much needed paper reprints become even less common if they're designing for Arena. Then we have more problems with wildcards, based probably as a byproduct of how Magic has been designed since the beginning, where rare lands are the best lands. And rare lands are the backbone of pretty much every format going. And that means that if you want to build multiple decks, you're going to have playsets of all these rare lands from those formats. And that means you run out of rare wildcards long before you run out of mythic, and definitely long before you run out of uncommon or common wildcards. Rare wildcards end up being the most desirable commodity on the platform. And I say commodity, but commodities can be bought and sold. But they're the most sought after wildcard, or any opening. Like if you open a rare wildcard, it's better than pretty much anything else. So rare wildcards are your bottlenecks, something that stops you from building your deck, whilst you have an abundance of common and uncommon wildcards that can't be traded up, not even at piss poor conversion rates. I have literally thousands of uncommon wildcards and I can't trade them to rares. And then wildcards aren't sold, you can only open them randomly or via vault progress by cracking packs and cracking packs and cracking packs. And this is just a thing that they want you to do. It's the most profitable thing for them. All of this is purposeful. All of this is a design choice. I refuse to believe that this was set up by randomly generating stuff, by pulling a piece of paper out of a fucking hat. Sometime, somewhere, Hasbro execs or Wizard execs or members of the development team, or perhaps a combination of all of the above, had to sit and discuss monetization strategy, which is a phrase that sounds dirty, right? But most of what I'm highlighting here would have been purposefully chosen by design to maximize the profitability of the client. And that's not to say that mistakes can't be made. Like, some of these things might have been implemented early on purposefully, and they can pivot on them, they can U-turn, they can change things. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the whole push towards multiplayer Commander in the paper sphere and not having that available in any capacity on Arena is probably a mistake. What was the word I was looking for? Oversight? But the point I'm getting at is that the MTG Arena economy is garbage for the end user, much like most mobile games, albeit slightly better than most, but that is purposeful design decisions, and that fucks me off. Remember the daily quests, the mastery pass, all of this stuff isn't designed to give you a good player experience. It's part of some business model being discussed in a boardroom somewhere, like that god-awful shitty GDC talk, Let's Go Whaling by Thorolf Genstrom, the dude who said,
"Some of you will probably be slightly shocked by all the tricks I have listed here, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk. We can discuss it if we have time later."
What a dickhead. One of the models Thorolf was keen to share in this this talk, you can go and watch the whole thing if you want your skin to crawl, was this idea of hook, habit, hobby, which really puts into perspective how predatory the whole arena economy really is.
By making people spend up front, they are also emotionally committing to your game, their retention will go up. And the first spend is, it breaks the ice, then they think of themselves as spenders in the game. It's okay for me to spend in the game. Lots of people are otherwise have this wall up, I will never pay for a mobile game.
So what can be done about it, and should they even bother? The really smart thing that a lot of people are going to say in the comment section is that Wizards aren't our friends, and the development team aren't our friends, and they're a company looking to make profit. And the thing is, this big brain energy response that is often from American commenters, people on Reddit, on Twitter and stuff, is like, herder, look at me, I know capitalism's bad. I get it, right? Like, they need to make a profit. I want the company to make a profit. I want the game to be profitable because I want the game to continue because I love Magic. The problem comes in that, and I'm going to echo one of Seth's points here, is that without things like Historic or Modern or Legacy and all that sort of stuff, the non-rotating formats, or Commander, I guess, serves this purpose for paper now. Without those things, people can just get bored of Standard. Standard is not a fucking reliable gameplay experience, and it can be complete dog shit. Like, at the moment it's been dog shit like 90% of the time for like 2 years. So without other places to play, without places to play your favourite old cards, or to like fall back into when Standard is bad, what do people do? Well, they probably just leave your game, and they go and play something else. Players will just move to the plethora of friendlier options out there. How often have you read comments praising Legendary Runeterra's economy in recent months? The problem with Magic in its current guise in terms of digital arena play is that you can't take a break for 6 months, come back, dust some cards and build a deck. Everything is a huge monetary investment that is sunk into the game, never to be recoverable in any capacity or transferred forward. And this will lead to burnout, frustration and player dissatisfaction. This can be remedied by appropriate duplicate protection, allowing wildcards to be converted upwards, the direct purchase of wildcards from the shop, purchasing a sum of singles, trading, or some form of dusting like Hearthstone has. All of those things that I just mentioned. And I'm not saying implement all of them, I'm saying 1 or 2 at best, but all of those things will bring a net positive to the end user experience of you and I trying to play this game that we love and spend money on this game that we love. And a positive end user experience will help with retention. It will help with people not becoming disenfranchised with Magic. Like, the general feeling around Magic right now is not good, and I think that is not only because of COVID, paper gameplay being off the cards, the state of the world right now, but there's also some choices being made by the company that runs the game, whether that be at a high level or even at Wizards level. And those choices are also causing problems for the game. They're making the game less desirable to play. The problem really comes down to that appeasing the players or improving the end user experience isn't your primary focus. The primary focus is to shareholders, to stakeholders, to your profitability at the end of each quarter. You want to outdo the previous one, right? This is the capitalism is bad moment, alright? So, yeah, whatever. Like, you need to have record profits every fucking quarter, and to do that, it's normally short-term gain for long-term pain. I'm not saying that Magic the Gathering is dying, not at all. All I'm saying is that this is not the most productive way to keep the game going long-term. Magic itself is a fantastic game from a very base level. Anyone watching this will agree, right? Like, the game of Magic itself is fantastic. And it can only carry you so far if you keep making decisions that are hostile, shall we say, towards your player base. And I do think the purposefully garbage economy of Magic the Gathering Arena is hurtful, harmful, predatory upon the player base. There's no two ways about it. And this is why I didn't want to make this video, but I don't know, I just started feeling quite passionate about it the more I played Arena this week and reading the tweets and reading Seth's article and shit. It just made me want to talk about it. I guess I'll leave you with a thing that's meant to sound profound, but it won't. Remember, if you keep hunting the whales will go extinct, and then all you'll be left with is angry fish. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. There is a lot to unpack, to digest, and to respond to in this video. Some of my thoughts. Do you think I'm being too harsh? Do you think it isn't conscious? This is all just like accidental incompetency? Or do you agree with me that you think that it is being monetized in a way that is just not helpful towards the end user in the fucking slightest? If you like the video, hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, ring the fucking bell, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.